So oftentimes people want to believe in coincidences, So people sometimes think that things are happening to you, and you end up in a certain situation, and you just cursing life, and you think that is a coincidence that whatever is happening around you is by some chance, some kind of a chance. Now, anybody who knows what time it is, we already know that there is no such a thing as coincidence on this universe. So the things we see really happening around us, everything is according to divine plan, and everything has been divinely, very carefully, divinely orchestrated. So I'm going to share with you guys a short experience. This video may take about 10 minutes or something. I'm going to share with you guys an experience I had one point. So I'm at work, and then there is so I'm standing outside. I'm on my break. Those days I was at my break. So a guy shows up. So this guy was highly intoxicated. That's the first thing. And the second thing, the guy was actually choking. He was choking. So in that vicinity at that moment, the only thing he needed was water, because he wouldn't even speak to me, because I saw him was nearly falling to the ground. I was the only one in that place at that time. He was nearly falling to the ground, and the only thing he gave me a sign. He gave me a sign that he need water. He need water, very very urgent. So fortunately, in that time, I ran inside and I grabbed my bottle of water and I came and gave this guy water. And the guy survived. Then he started talking. So I was talking to him and I was asking him that, so what is your friends? How come you're just out here by yourself? You look like you're intoxicated, and then it's like you're not around anybody. Nobody's around you. You're just by yourself. You look like you're lost. So I was talking to him a little bit. And then he said that he had actually lost all his friends. So he had gone out to find some food and then he lost his friends. He did not know how he lost his friends on the way. And that's how the guy got intoxicated, started choking. He was choking. I think he had had like these fast foods, the stuff like that. So eventually, in that time, I was the only one in that place to save the guy. So I gave the guy some water. The guy survived. But you can best believe that actually, that guy had only, if I could calculate properly, he simply had 2 minutes or 3 minutes maximum to live. So if I was not in that place at that moment, because this was on the streets, he was going to choke. Ladies and gentlemen, if I was not there to help that guy with water, he was going to choke. Now, a lot of these similar incidents, they could have happened to you along your journey. You may be somewhere, you could have been somewhere walking. And then all of a sudden, there was a car coming from behind you. And then all of a sudden, somebody just came around and grabbed you very quickly and threw you on the side of the road. Or you may have sometimes, somebody could have intended to poison you. And somebody else could have seen that person poisoning you. And they could have come in time. And they could have stopped you actually from having that poison, from taking that poison, if the guys could have been trying to put that poison in food. Now, a lot of these so-called such divine encounters, they are very common. And most of the times, you can look back and you recognize that along your journey, you have experienced a lot of these divine encounters so many times along your path. So the only way to understand what was a divine encounter, there are ways we can use to recognize that these things have been supernatural and they have been divine encounters. So these have been either messengers from God, or they have been simply angels that have just come into your life at the right time. The first way to recognize a divine encounter is when you have experienced a situation when you are in deep trouble. Most likely there was an event that could even sometimes have taken your life. Or probably you're in a hospital, and for some reason, the doctor that handled you was the only doctor in that vicinity that could actually handle your problem. So you could have had, for example, an accident. And in that hospital, the doctor that was assigned to your case was the only one who can handle your case. There was no one else in that vicinity that could handle your case. You know what I mean? So those kind of things happen often. So another case I could tell you, for example, um, you could have gotten into some kind of a road accident. You know what I mean? Maybe you are driving or something like that, and then for some reason a supernatural event happened whereby the car was supposed to hit you. Actually, just missed you by a few inches. You were actually seeing this car on its way. The car was about to hit you, but for some reason this car missed you by just a few inches. Those are some of the real life experiences of something what they call supernatural events and divine encounters. So actually, in that moment, the divine was intervening in your case so that you can survive, so that you can live. Or you may have sometimes experienced. So in this case, I'm talking about near-death experiences. You have survived a near-death experiences by just a few minutes or a few seconds, or sometimes a couple of hours. There have been a divine intervention and you've survived a near-death experiences. That is one of the signs that actually you have encountered, you have had a divine encounter or a supernatural experience. So the divine has actually been at play. It could be your angel guides, your spirit guides, your ancestors. They have intervened to save your life. Another way you can recognize a divine encounter or a supernatural experience is when you have you have had an incident in your life at some point and somebody has told you something. So for example, you went out with your parents, let's say so many years ago, you were a kid, so you went out to the park with your parents. And then somebody just showed up, a stranger just showed up, and they told you something. They could have told you something. It could have been a prediction. They could have said that this kid, when this kid grows up, they're going to become an engineer, or they're going to become a preacher, or they're going to become a pastor, or they're going to become a bishop, or they're going to become this, or they are going to become famous, or they will be a musician. A person has come when you were young, and they have told you something. They have predicted something on your life, and there's even sometimes witnesses to that event. So they could have been with your parents, like I said, and your parents was walking with you in the park, only to see you get this stranger show up in your vicinity, and they have told you something that is going to happen to your life. And so many years down the road, so many years later, in your journey, that particular event that they have said has happened. Or they could have said, for example, something like, you know what? They could have told your parents that this child, your daughter or your son, when they grow up, they are going to be very famous and they're going to travel the world. And they could have done that thing like jokingly, you know what I mean? And probably at that point, you have not seen that particular person again. So the guy just came and delivered the message and they went on their way. You have never seen them again. Only for you to realize many years later on, 20 years, 15 years, 20 years later on, that actually that guy predicted the right thing. That particular thing that guy predicted so many years ago when he was a kid, that thing has actually happened and it has come to play. So a person has actually predicted something on your life when you was a kid. So what is happening here, you guys need to understand something what they call divine intervention. Divine intervention, the reason why they call it divine intervention is because there are higher forces that are at play here. So we're talking about angels, we're talking about spirit guides, we're talking about ancestors. So there is people that are around you that have been assigned in your life to protect you and sometimes to guide you along your journey. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I can give you another example. Let me say, for example, you could have wanted to get into a relationship or something like that. Maybe you wanted to get into a date, let's say, for example. And you guys went on that date or something like that. And then for some reason, something just told you that actually you need to plug out of that equation. Get out of the equation as soon as you can. And for some reason, immediately you got out of the equation, only for you to discover actually that you did the right thing. So when you decided to get out of the equation and not carry on with that date, you have also discovered that something has happened to that person that you was going to date, or probably the person was ill. They could have had a particular illness, and the only thing they wanted from you was to infect you with that illness. And for some reason, you have plugged out of that equation and you have refused to go ahead and date that person, only for you to discover so many couple of months, maybe weeks later on, that that person actually passed on because they had a certain illness, and actually you have survived that illness. So that is also one of the examples that you have actually had a divine intervention. So it is your intuition that has spoken to you that, listen, no matter what the person looks like, no matter how good they look like, get out of that equation. That person has come in for a mission, probably by their being used by the enemy to come into your life and destroy you. And for some reason you have survived. So all these are examples of divine intervention and supernatural events that usually happen to us along our journeys, especially if you're a chosen one. Because the chosen one, I've told you guys, you have got the whole divine team behind your back. So a lot of you guys have not been seeing these things that have been happening, but you are going to look back and realize that, oh, so many things are starting to make a lot of sense. So many times along your journey, you have had this kind of divine encounters with certain people, and you've never seen those people again, only for you to realize that actually those people have predicted something that is going to happen to your life, and it has actually come to fruition. It has actually come to happen. Or you have been protected against a certain accident or an event that was meant to take your life. So you have actually experienced a near-death experience, and you have missed death by just a couple of inches, or sometimes you have missed death by just a couple of hours, and you're still living and you're still here, but you're supposed to be dead. All those are examples of divine intervention. If there is anything else that I've not mentioned again in this video, you can always let us know what has happened in your journey along your path in the comment section below. And until then, guys, it's been a blessing to have you guys on board. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Denzemo signing out. Much love and blessings. Peace.